What's up, everybody? This is Tech G back with another video. And in this video, we're going to be talking about data privacy, consent, and user protection when it comes to AI systems. So let's get into it. Artificial intelligence is changing the world very fast. From chatbots that sound like real people to smart home devices that know when you're out of milk, AI is popping up everywhere. And while it's exciting and honestly kind of mind blowing, it also raises some very real questions like who's watching what we do online, what happens to the data that we share, and can we trust AI to keep us safe? Now, if you've ever asked, is my data safe, or how do I know I'm being treated fairly by an algorithm, then you're already thinking like someone who understands the ethical side of AI. So in this video, we're going to dive deep into one of the most important topics in AI today, and that is ethical and responsible AI, especially when it comes to data privacy, consent, and user protection. Now, this isn't just about following rules. It's about building AI systems that respect human dignity, rights, and trust. So let's talk about why that matters and what it looks like in practice. Before we dive into the specifics of data privacy and consent, let's answer a simple question. What is ethical AI? Well, ethical AI means designing and deploying AI systems in ways that are fair, where there's no discrimination or bias. They're transparent, so you know what decisions are being made, and there's accountability, so you know there's someone responsible for the outcomes, and they're respectful of human rights and autonomy. Now, these are big ideas, but they're not abstract. They show up in the real world every time an AI system makes a decision about whether you get a job interview, what kind of loan you qualify for, which news stories or ads you see, or how your medical treatment is handled. And when AI impacts people's lives, it has to be ethical. Otherwise, we risk creating systems that are invasive, unfair, or even harmful. And that brings us to the backbone of ethical AI, and that is data privacy, consent, and user protection. All right, so exactly what is data privacy? Well, data privacy is the concept of keeping personal information like your name, address, health records, or even your online behavior safe, secure, and under your control. So every time you search Google, scroll Instagram, or ask Alexa a question, or use a fitness tracker, you're generating data, and that data can be incredibly sensitive. So the question is, who owns that data and what can they do with it? Now, why does this matter when it comes to AI? Well, AI systems, they thrive on data. In fact, data is their lifeblood. But if AI is built using data that was collected without permission, or contains sensitive personal details, or is stored or shared insecurely, then we've got a serious ethical problem. So imagine an AI health assistant using your medical history, but you never gave permission for that data to be shared. Or imagine a facial recognition app tagging you in photos that you never approved. That's not just creepy, it's also a violation of privacy. And here's a few examples of where data privacy went out the window. So we have what is called Cambridge Analytica back in 2018. And this is where millions of Facebook profiles were harvested without consent and used to target political ads. And that was a massive breach of trust. You also have Clearview AI. This company scraped billions of images from social media and built a facial recognition database without user consent. And ever since then, many countries have banned it. And then there are smart home devices. There have been cases of voice assistants recording private conversations without users realizing it. So these stories highlight why protecting user data is not optional, it is essential. All right, so next let's talk about consent. So what does consent mean when it comes to AI? So in simple terms, consent means giving people control over how their data is collected, used, and shared. But it's more than just a checkbox. True consent must be informed, meaning people know exactly what they're agreeing to. It also must be freely given, meaning there are no pressure or tricks. And it must be revocable, meaning you can change your mind later. So if someone says, sure, you can use my data, but they didn't understand the terms, then that is not real consent. So why does AI need real consent? Well, let's say a company trains an AI to recommend mental health treatments. It uses patient data from therapy sessions, but the patients were never told their information would be used to train a machine. That's not just ethical, it could also be illegal. When it comes to AI, consent must be built into every step of the process. When it comes to data collection, there needs to be something in place to where the user agrees to share their information. When it comes to model training, the users need to agree that their data can be used in certain ways. And when it comes to deployment, does the AI make decisions based on that personal data? Now, without consent, we're essentially saying that you can take what you want and we don't get a say. Now, that is not responsible technology. And then we have these things called dark patterns and manipulative consent. So So if you ever tried to opt out of tracking cookies on a website and you found yourself buried in 20 confusing options, well, that's what's called a dark pattern. This is a design trick to nudge you into agreeing without really understanding what you're agreeing to. And ethical AI demands that we avoid these tricks because consent should be clear, simple, and honest. All right, so next let's talk about user protection. So while data privacy and consent are huge pieces of the puzzle, user protection goes even further. It's about making sure AI doesn't harm people, discriminate unfairly, manipulate behavior, or exploit vulnerabilities. So let's go ahead and unpack a few areas where user protection is crucial. The first is bias and fairness. So AI systems, they can reflect and even amplify human biases in the data they're trained on. And some examples could be hiring algorithms that prefer male candidates because they were trained on past hiring data that was gender biased. It can also show up in loan approval systems that reject minority applicants because of historical redlining and credit scores. Now, these are not just technical glitches, they're ethical red flags. So, user protection means testing AI for bias and actively working to eliminate unfair outcomes. Then there's transparency and explainability. So, if an AI makes a decision that affects you, you should be able to understand why. So, for example, why did the algorithm deny your mortgage? Or why did your resume get filtered out? Now, you have this thing called black box AI, and this is where the decision making process is hidden or too complex to understand, which makes accountability impossible. And ethical AI demands that users are informed and have the ability to challenge decisions. There's also security and data protection. So even if users give consent, the data still needs to be protected from breaches, leaks, and hacks. So imagine trusting an AI with your health data only to have it stolen in a cyber attack. And user protection means implementing strong encryption, secure storage, and access controls. And then there's psychological safety. So AI-driven apps and recommendation engines, they shape what we see, what we buy, and even what we believe. And some examples of this are social media algorithms that promote outrage to increase engagement, or targeted ads that prey on insecurities, or AI generated content that blurs the lines between fact and fiction. So user protection means designing systems that respect mental health, avoid manipulation, and promote digital well-being. All right, so let's move on and talk about the role of law and regulation. So, ethical AI isn't just about doing the right thing, it's increasingly becoming a legal requirement. And some major regulations that exist are the GDPR, which is found in Europe, and this requires clear consent for data use, which gives users the right to access and delete their data. They have what is called the CCPA out in California, and this offers data transparency and opt-out rights for consumers. And then you have the AI Act, which is going to be coming to the European Union, and this will regulate high-risk AI systems with strict transparency and safety requirements. Now, most countries are following suit, and global companies will need to stay on top of evolving rules, and that's a good thing because it sets a standard that puts people first. Now that we know the why, let's look at the how. Meaning, what can developers, businesses, and students like you do to practice ethical AI? Well, first thing you can do is engage in what is called data minimization. So basically, you don't want to collect more data than necessary. So just because you can collect everything, that doesn't mean that you have to. Also, you want to do privacy by design. So you want to build privacy into the system from day one and do not bolt it on later. So you want to use anonymization, or you want to limit access to sensitive data, and you want to give users control over their own data. You also want to implement consent mechanisms that make sense. So you want to make it easy for users to understand what's happening, choose what they can share, and withdraw their consent at any time. You also want to conduct bias testing and audits. So you want to run regular checks for bias and unfair outcomes. You want to bring in diverse voices during the development process. You also want to have transparent communication. So you want to be able to explain how the AI works and what it does with the user data in layman's terms. But then you want to have ethics committees and oversight. So large projects, they should have ethics boards to review decisions, flag risks, and recommend responsible actions. All right, so here's a quick recap of the big ideas we've talked about. So when it comes to data privacy, your personal information should be protected and not exploited. When it comes to consent, you should have control over how your data is used. When it comes to user protection, AI should avoid harm, be fair, and keep users informed. When it comes to bias and fairness, algorithms must be tested and adjusted to prevent discrimination. When it comes to transparency, users should understand how AI decisions are made. When it comes to security, You need to have strong safeguards that protect sensitive data. When it comes to regulation, you need to have legal frameworks that are shaping the future of ethical AI. And then when it comes to best practices, developers and companies, they must embed ethics into every stage of AI development. At the end of the day, ethical AI isn't just a technical challenge, it's a human one. We're talking about systems that are shaping our lives in real time. And if people do not feel safe, respected, and protected when using AI, then they simply will not trust it. And without trust, the whole thing will fall apart. That's why practicing ethical and responsible AI isn't just a nice to have, it's an absolute must. It's how we build a digital future that puts people first, and that future starts with you. So, whether you're building the next AI app or just learning the ropes, your awareness of these issues matters. You don't need to be a lawyer or a philosopher, you just need to be someone who's willing to ask questions like, is this fair? Is this safe? And is this respectful? And if the answer is no, then be bold enough to speak up, suggest improvements, or even build something better, because the future of AI is being written right now, and you're the one that's holding the pen. And with all that being said, let's do some check on learning. So, our first question is, which of the following best describes why user consent is essential when collecting data for AI systems? Is it ensures users are aware of how their data will be used? Is it helps improve model accuracy? Is it is a legal requirement in most programming languages? Or is it reduces the cost of data storage? And the correct answer is it ensures that users are aware of how their data will be used. So, user consent is a core ethical and legal principle that ensures individuals are informed about the data being collected and how it will be processed, stored, and shared. And this transparency fosters trust and protects users' rights. Next question. What is one of the main risks of using personal data in AI systems without proper safeguards? Is it the system will run more slowly? Is it the AI model may fail to generate output? Is it could result in data breaches or misuse of sensitive information? Or is it users may not understand how AI works? And the correct answer is it could result in data breaches or misuse of sensitive information. So, without proper privacy controls, sensitive personal data in AI systems can be exposed through data breaches or exploited in harmful ways, violating ethical standards and privacy laws such as GDPR or CCPA. And our final question is, which practice helps protect users when deploying AI systems that handle sensitive data? Is it training models only with large data sets? Is it using data anonymization techniques? Is it avoiding model evaluation? Or is it collecting as much data as possible? And the correct answer is it is using data anonymization techniques. So, data anonymization, this removes or masks personally identifiable information, helping ensure that even if data is accessed, it cannot easily be traced back to an individual, thus protecting user privacy.